Everybody, welcome back to the LCS. I am joined by Hans Sama of the 6-0 Misfits. Now, Hans, you guys never really faltered in your whole traditional 2v2 AD carry support setup, but other teams are starting to pick it back up. Do you feel like things are going to start settling back into the old meta?
I'm not sure if things are going to settle back like the old meta. Just for us, it's working pretty well so far. I think maybe we will see more of. Maybe I might play other stuff like other people do, like Heimerdinger, stuff like this. But for now, I'm just confident on the AD carries, and I guess since it's working well for us, maybe people think that's the way for them to succeed. But I just think I should give a huge shout out to our staff, who's doing a pretty good job to make us a great team already. And well, I'm excited for the future.
Certainly. Now, in the very near future, you guys are going to have about a week off since you won't be attending Rift Rivals. Do you actually think it's an advantage that you'll have some time to maybe practice things like that Heimerdinger, or would you rather be getting the stage experience?
I think with the period of the Rift Rival will help me a lot with those kind of autofill champions, because I've never been I think I've never been that great with those champions. I've been playing AD carry for like at the beginning, so I just need more time, I guess. So, but well, who knows what I will play.
All right, just a little more time, and who knows? I'm looking forward to seeing it, man. But congratulations once again on your win.
Thank you.
We're gonna go ahead and send it back to our analyst to get us into pregame.
Hello, hello, hello.
Hello, Moose. Thank you for joining us. Congratulations. You're going to be joining us for Schalke 04 versus Vitality. But first, I need to congratulate you as well. 6-0. You must be feeling extremely comfortable at this point.
Comfortable, yes. Happy, no.
Okay.
Because, like, a lot of these wins, I mean, we look pretty good, but a lot of these wins are really just bad drafts or play from opponents, and it's hard to. I mean, like this isn't meant to be BM. Like, obviously, everyone's trying, but like. I want to improve even faster than we are right now. And so, you know, it'd be nice if, like, because I know teams are much better than what we see on stage in scrims. Like, a lot of the teams that are not performing on stage are really good in scrims. So I'd like to see, like, the place step up, I guess. But
you can only beat what is in front of you, and I think you did an awesome job doing it today. Player of the game, Maxlor, 65% of the votes. Can you tell me a bit about Maxlor and how he's developed so far?
Was Steven in the...
No, he wasn't.
Okay,
that
makes
not
sense.
that we're doing it on purpose, but it was Mickey X, Senkux, and Maxlor because they had fantastic performances, and we know that it's kind of rigged if Hans Sama is in the vote. He always wins.
I mean, Maxlor's been really good. I think the whole team overall has been really good, which works with Maxlor. He's someone that really develops as a player and, like, just plays really well when he understands his teammates and he understands what they need and communicates well with them. And we've worked so hard on building really good communication systems between everybody in and out of the game. So I think every time that happens, you always see, like, you'll always see Maxlor shine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for me, I think the building good communication systems is always the first place I go to when I move to a new team. And I think I really like that you talk about how, like, you're building good communication systems, but also outside of the game too. Because honestly, like, what's a really underrated aspect of being in a team is like how you communicate outside of the game, how you deliver feedback, you know, how you kind of, because during a review itself is like a complicated thing. It's like a lot of moving parts. Everyone has to try and give feedback about like what they think they should have done better, but also how their teammates could have enabled them better too. So I really like that you talk about that. I think it's really important.
Yeah, interesting point. Mickey X also called it out, and it seems to be going fantastic for you guys. I do want to put the attention on our next game, which is Schalke versus Vitality, two teams that are equally looking towards the top of the EU LCS, and for now are in the battle for 4th place. A very important game. Schalke can make up a spot in the standings if they beat Vitality. We want to see something out of them, but I want to start with Vitality. And Moose, well, Vitality were the rookies in their first split. They blew everyone away. What do you think of their play so far and how they've evolved? And maybe if they have some room for improvement.
I actually like a lot of the ideas they have behind draft and the way they're trying to approach the meta. They're trying to find their own flavor. And the first week, they had like a lot of interesting picks. And they've kind of tried to keep to that theme. It sometimes has worked and sometimes hasn't, but they're trying to play to their strengths and they're always constantly trying to be proactive. And so I like that about Vitality. Of course, they still don't have really good synergy and they don't really have, I don't think they've quite figured out exactly what they like to play yet, but they're they are proactive, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, I like that you bring up that they have their own unique flavor, because I feel like a lot of the teams, at least at the top of the standings, have started to define themselves. So you guys, it's, you know, the stock standard marksman in the bottom lane. G2 have their own funnel stuff. But Vitality, for me, it's mainly about their bottom lane and playing those crazy picks, the mages, letting Jack Troll have some time on the pike, and that's their own twist that I really like to see.
However, yesterday it was all about the guy who was huge in spring. It was Jizuke. Yeah. The Italian stallion was back. He picked Darius, and when you talk about playing to their own strengths, I think they will never really let Jizuke not make the plays, because that is kind of in their DNA, and I think it's kind of a journey to make sure that that aligns with all the other things they can do in the meta.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I like a team that's proactive. I mean, as somebody who's been
that is sick.
That is a camera angle and a half right there. Holy crap.
And Pike too, it's all the resets.
Let's enjoy it.
Oh, I wish one of them was golden though. Someone needs to zone.
But who's gonna steal the reset from who?
Oh yeah,
apparently.
Oh. There we go. Sorry, George, go ahead.
Sorry, yeah, no worries, yeah. So as I was saying, I think it's really important that a team is always proactive, because it's so much easier to learn from a position of proactivity, because it's hard to fix, like, here in this position, you should just do anything, because then we can evaluate what you did and see what we could have done better. But when you're proactive, it's really easy to be like, yeah, this was wrong, I can see what you're going for, but it's actually better to just do this instead. You know, like, for these reasons, maybe there was something you didn't consider, but, like, for me, it's like, I always like a proactive team. I just think it's the better way to play League of Legends. League of Legends is a snowball-based, tempo-based game, and just being proactive is the better way to play it.
And that is exactly how Vitality played yesterday versus the Unicorns of Love. And Moose, to wrap up our expectations for Vitality, where do you see them end, and where should they aim at the end of the split?
I think they'll be contesting for 3rd or 4th place. Right now, it's pretty clear that G2 and us are going to be top 2, and it's between Fnatic and Vitality for which one actually like steps up for it.
Okay, and is Schalke in the mix is the big question, because they didn't make it to playoffs in spring, and we need to see them pick up those important wins right now. Amazing came into that roster. What do you think he's brought to them so far?
So Schalke looks the best when Amazing is proactive. And the part that is iffy about Schalke is that proactivity isn't always there. So I think he brings more proactiveness than the last roster they had, but it's still inconsistent, and I'm not sure if that's on him or the rest of the roster.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I actually kind of wanted to touch a little bit more about what you said about Fnatic not being in the definite 3rd place position. Do you not feel like they're the definite 3rd place team?
I mean, I think right now they are, but I also think Vitality, at least the way they approach the game, if they actually learn fast from all this proactivity, then they can contest for the 3rd spot.
Mm-hmm. And we will see that in this game. If Vitality can smack Schalke around exactly like they did the Unicorns of Love, they will be taking a sharp spot at the 4th place and maybe looking higher in the standings, but it'll be up to Schalke to do something or anything. And it comes down to the same thing for you. Yesterday versus Misfits, they actually weren't that far behind. They weren't behind at 10 minutes and 15 minutes, but you said, well, yeah, but they also didn't do anything, and that's the issue.
Exactly. They were able to stay even because they didn't take risks, and that meant everyone was just farming, but they were slowly being chipped away at. And much like you said, Moose, it all comes down to Amazing for me, because there are games, I remember specifically the one against Fnatic, even though they lost it in the end, he was all over the place in the early game, but then there are those other games where I just never see him gank, and those are the ones that I don't ever see them really having a chance in.
Mm-hmm.
I think he picked Trundle against us, and it's hard to be like as proactive as he wants to be on that champion. So I'd like to see them like Camille is a perfect champion for him, and I'd like to see them play more champions like this in the jungle.
All right, quick predictions: Schalke or Vitality? I'm the only one who picked Schalke over Vitality, so I hope they do well. I hope they are proactive, and they're.
I mean, it's Vitality from me. I think they had a little bump in the road last week, but after seeing their performance yesterday, it's all Vitality from here.
George.
Yeah, I actually locked in my prediction before the week started, and I wasn't too hot on Vitality going in. I'm not going to flip-flop. I'm going to commit to my original Schalke decision, because I do think there is an opportunity for them to win this game. Like, I do think if, you know, Amazing has a proactive performance, but for me also, Vander really needs to start moving more. I think yesterday we identified that one of the things he wasn't doing super well was being proactive. So yeah, for me, Schalke.
You break the tie. Who's going to win?
I think Vitality for me. I think they have better synergy, and they're consistently proactive.
Actually, you made the tie. Let's see who wins. If it is Vitality or Schalke, let's go over to our casters.
Thank you very much, Shox. I am still Medic, he's still Vedius, and we are still here for the second game of the day. Team Vitality up against Schalke, and the desk seems to think it's a battle of proactivity here.
Oh, it will be, yeah, that's what I think. And I just think the Vitality are the more proactive team based on what we've seen so far. Whether that Schalke can change today would be one of the big question marks, and it'll all start in the draft, Medic, because yesterday we did see Schalke draft towards Pike in the bottom lane. We saw them build a composition that said, you know what, Vander, you can roam. We can move you from bot into mid, and we can get get that mid, jungle, bot synergy all set up nicely, but they weren't able to pull it off against Misfits. Can they do it against Vitality potentially? That's what we're here to find out.
Well, Vitality picked the blue side, get rid of the Aurelia and the Trundle themselves. Schalke have removed Aatrox, and once again, Nocturne mid taken off the cards by them.
Just to clarify, I don't think they're banning Nocturne.
I think they are,
I think Nocturne
you can't prove it.
They're banning Nocturne. Where he may show up is up for debate, but he is definitely a strong champion in the current meta. Lucian being taken off the board away from Upset. Like the respect being shown there from Vitality, but with the bans coming out, Talia has been left open. She is one of the most contested champions in the game right now, the most contested jungler in the meta globally right now, and the fact that she was left open makes an easy pickup for Vitality.
Yeah, and she just has the ability to gank so easily with that seismic shove. Clears the jungle relatively well as well, but another jungler that is good at being proactive, has strong early game, and can make plays in the late game is Camille. Alongside it, Schalke will get the Vladimir.
So the Vlad is quite a safe and flexible champion. You can put him both mid and bot. Schalke aren't really giving too much away, and they're happy to get the Camille because we know it's a comfort pick for Amazing. Vitality, they're going for comfort of their own. Jack Troll likes playmaking supports. So far this split, he has played Pyke, Alistar, and one Fiddle game where he did that with the Heimer. So the fact that they've insta-locked this Alistar says to me that they're already looking for either a kill lane down bot or a roaming support to influence that mid lane matchup.
Makes a lot of sense. He's yet to win on the Alistar though. 0 for 2 in the 2 games he's played that. Alongside that, they'll pick up the Mundo. This will be Cabashard's first Mundo game, and really, actually only his second tank game of the tournament. Has played Ornn once before.
Ooh, this would be an interesting pickup. Yasuo being locked in for Schalke as well. They're kind of already well-rounded in terms of damage. Their team fighting is starting to develop, and there's a little bit of scaling on the composition. Yasuo, not the strongest one-item spike champion. Vladimir usually goes towards the proto belt, which is fine, but again, more geared towards like the mid game once he's got a couple items under his belt. So early game, not really the strongest point relative to what Vitality have so far, but still a lot left in the draft to be decided. And the fact that they banned away the Mordekaiser to me implies that Upset could be the one playing that Yasuo. Still a lot to be decided in this draft though.
They're going to get rid of the Sejuani on the side of Team Vitality. Rise taken away by Schalke, as you say. Upset on Yasuo is a very real possibility. We haven't seen him on anything except a marksman this split. On the other side of things, Vitality have been very willing to switch up that bottom lane. Actually haven't played a marksman at all. It's been Heimerdinger, Lux, Swain, and Vladimir for Attila.
Well, still so much left to be decided. What are Schalke going to lock in? The problem is, with the meta the way it is, you never really know what is where. For all we know, Camille is support. So I'm still waiting to see what Schalke can look to bring out. Right now, they're hovering a support, and they will lock that one in for Vanna. So playmaking, engage, synergy with the Yasuo as well. You would expect Vander to be playing this champion, and you would expect it to go towards the bottom lane. The question is, will it be with a Yasuo, or will it be with the Xayah? Still yet to be determined. I would be very surprised if they put a Vladimir against a Mundo, just because Vlad, while during the early laning phase, yes, he can be pretty effective. The amount of magic resistance that Mundo passively gets means that that matchup will just get harder and harder as the game progresses. So, personally not a massive fan, but we'll see where the Vlad does in fact go, as Vitality kind of round out the last half of their draft.
Yep, going to pick up the Zoe for Jizuke, something he played incredibly well last split, has played once already this split as well, going 3, 1, and 2. And alongside it, they will pick a traditional AD carry. They're going to go for the Ezreal. Attila will pilot that into battle.
So this, again, implies that Jack Troll is going to be looking to roam around the map, because Ezreal's a very safe AD carry that's not about winning lane, he's just about playing safe. Vitality are saying very clearly, we're going to play around mid lane, something they found a lot of success with in the past, and they're looking to try and replicate that success in this game. Whereas for Schalke, I'm still curious as to who is going where. I quite like Vladimir into the Ezreal, largely because it gives you a free laning phase. The poke that the Ezreal throws out is just mitigated by the sustain of Vlad. He has stronger push than the Ezreal too, and you can basically just apply a lot of pressure. Once he hits level 6, you do have an element of kill pressure as well, especially if Amazing makes his way into the mix. But I think it's just a pretty safe lane down bot. But also Vlad can hold in a 1 versus 1 or even 1 versus 2, so Rakan is able to roam. I feel like, Medic, this game we're going to see a lot of action around this middle lane. And the team that is able to find that first kill, find that early advantage around the mid-skirmish that I expect to happen, will be the one to snowball the game. But the question is, can they even snowball cleanly? Because we've seen from both these teams, sometimes when they get an early lead, they don't always know what to do with it.
Yeah, we've seen both of them struggle in that mid-game. Schalke especially. Last split, this split, have not been able to close out games effectively. But with Amazing joining the squad, perhaps they can find that leadership. Perhaps they can find that solid voice they need to start winning some of these matchups. Now, have to remember how important this match and these this match is for these two teams in terms of standing. Vedius, Vitality sitting at 3-2, trying to challenge Fnatic for that 3rd, 4th spot here in the EU LCS. Schalke continuously going 1-1 throughout the last couple of weeks. This week, they lost yesterday, will really want to pick up a win to keep themselves away from the bottom of the table.
They certainly will. A very big win here for both teams. Schalke last split spent a lot of time towards the middle or bottom half of the pack, and they were not able to qualify for playoffs. Very disappointed with their split, especially with the investment they put in terms of the behind-the-scenes resources and really the caliber of their players. For people like Vizicachi and Nukta, they expected a lot more. With their upstart rookie upset, they were hoping to achieve at the very least the playoffs. But things are brand new in this split, as you rightly said, with the addition of Amazing, and we'll see whether or not he can be the deciding factor. Mid-jungle support, that is pretty much the key of the current meta. The success and the enabling of your mid laner to get him ahead is really what can start and determine a lot of these snowballs.
When you talk about snowball, Schalke have a 10 gold lead, Vedius.
Ooh, already off to a great start from Vitality. We talked about them finding those early gold leads and then running away with it. It's that 10 gold that's going to be the deciding factor.
Actually, there are 10, 20. Oh, yeah, it's actually only 10 gold because there's 20 gold that's been picked up on the side of Vitality and 30 gold being picked up on the side.
So Schalke with the early lead. Let's see if that's the swing factor. Right now in the early levels, we just kind of look at jungle pathing and clearing because Gilius, he's decided to start towards the bottom side of the map, and there is a ward spotted in the bottom river. 1 second. Gilius tweeted, playing against Schalke 04 in 2 hours. Time to shut Amazing's big mouth. Quite crude, but effective. Let's see if he can pull it off.
We'll see if it is effective. Because you can put the tweet out there. We've seen Gilius trash talk a lot of players in the past.
Well, I think they're about to meet Medic, both heading towards this blue buff.
Amazing did walk over a ward as well, so Gilius knows that Amazing is here. He uses the hook shot. Gilius waiting in the wings, Zoe on his way up as well, and immediately Amazing reacts. He knows that Vitality can react.
He has to disengage because Cabo got the push in top lane and he would have been able to move down faster. Recognizing it would have been a 2 versus 1, he's forced to flash in the early game. So both junglers had their eyes set on this top side Scuttle Crab, and with the ward that they put towards bot, I feel like you should have expected this, but I guess Schalke didn't really have full information as to where Gilius was starting. So Amazing now. Can he look to contest the second Scuttle Crab, or will he look to concede it as we see Gilius just hanging around the mid lane for the time being?
Yeah, decides against doing his blue immediately. I have to remember Tilia has that passive, the rock surfing, so she moves around the jungle very, very rapidly when she wants to. Going to go straight across towards this bottom side Scuttle Crab, and should be able to secure it for himself. Amazing deciding he doesn't want to fight for that second Scuttle Crab.
So keeping my eyes now as well on the top laners for the time being. Chachi, as a player, has had a very up and down split. He was in fact solo killed by Wonder only last week, and then the day after he had one of the best performances of the entirety of the split. So now that he's on Ornn, very comfortable champion for him, something he's had a lot of playtime on throughout his history in the EU LCS. And going up against Cabo, for the time being, it's just a lot of back and forth. As much as this matchup would like to be exciting, it's not.
Yeah, it's not going to be.
You've got to talk about it because it is a thing and it happens, and now we've done it, our quota has been hit. We can just leave top lane for now and get back to the interesting stuff.
Before we do, Gilius is actually on his way up here, maybe looking for a gank. So Chachi is dodge away, seismic shove doesn't connect. Gilius still landing that threaded volley down towards the bottom side though. Jackdraw goes in with the engage, looking for the stun as well. Vander dodges away. An upset survives for the moment, and we can move down towards this bottom lane. Thankfully the action brought us down here And the big point that I'm focusing on in this bottom lane is how much those supports actually stay in the lane and how much they move away. Because if you look at it, Jack Troll has a jungle proximity of 21.5%. That means he's spending 21.5% of the early game near Gilius, not near his laner. That's third in the EU LCS. Vander, on the other hand, very low, 14.4%, which is a lot lower than the side of Jack Troll. It means Vander doesn't roam around as much. He spends more time sitting with Upset in the bottom lane.
So what you're basically saying is Jack Troll likes to move a lot, Vander doesn't as much. And we'll see whether or not Vander can change that playstyle, because yesterday we already talked about it. They built a composition around better enabling Vander to roam, but due to all the great vision from Misfits, he couldn't really pull it off in a way that he would have liked. This time around, we're not seeing anywhere near the same level of vision from Vitality that Misfits are able to put down. And Vladimir is great in this 2 versus 2 for just holding the lane. You can already see, after that initial trade, he's already healed back up thanks to the Q heal, and they're even willing to go for a couple of trades here and there. So this lane is generally pretty safe. You don't really look for all-ins because of the goals of both bot lanes, which is very much geared towards scaling. There'll be a bit of trading back and forth to try and generate pressure, but for the most part, you just see wave clearing, healing, trading, poking, and unfortunately, not the most exciting lane things.
But maybe exciting when we see Vander and Jack Troll starting to roam around a little bit more. You've got the combinations, you've got the knock up from the Rakan into the Yasuo ult, you've got the ability of Jack Troll to get around the map as well.
I do also want to make a quick note to the Predator that has been picked up by Upset. We've seen so many variations on the rune choice from a Vladimir, as Jack Troll looks to be as obnoxious as possible. Ignite actually goes down.
A little bit greedy from Upset to stay around. Jack Troll does have to flash in the end, is running Hex Flash on that Alistar, so we'll be able to still make plays if he can come out of bushes without any vision.
He was planning on backing anyway, so I don't think that's the end of the world. But fortunately for Upset, he still has TP. Backtracking quickly to the Predator point, you often see Airy, Electrocute, Predator on Vladimir. Like all variations depending on what your goal is. Electrocute is commonly chosen in the bot lane just because it gives you that extra bit of kill pressure. But Predator is more about roaming around the map. So it's not just about Vander leaving and actually getting involved with the rest of the team. You have that extra bit of mobility to join the squad and also add your 2 cents should it be desired.
And speaking of roaming, that's exactly what Jack Troll's done. He goes back, comes in towards this mid lane, has the Hex Flash. Vander's trying to answer him, but Jack Troll went straight for the mobility boots, whereas Vander upgraded to a Frost Fang. So Jack Troll is a bit quicker. He's going to jump across this wall. Ooh. Didn't go across the wall, instead retreated, maybe sensing that Amazing and Vander were waiting in.
I was really confused to watch this out. I was watching him and then he just went bloop, and then he disappeared to the other side. He now has vision on Vander. Will they go for the collapse? Here comes Gilius.
Gilius is there. You can see Attila's coming up that river as well. And there's just a sense of tension right now between these two teams. You can tell they know whoever makes that first play has the opportunity to snowball. Cleanse used by Nuke Duck in the mid lane after Sleepy Trouble Bubble hit him as well. A little bit of urgency here, Vedius, from both these guys, but also a willingness not to make mistakes.
We're actually looking at the top lane again. Here we go.
Yeah.
Intense
that was
battle.
It. That was it, Ben.
A battle of the gods.
Oh, okay. Here, no. We've got it. We've got a moment. Welsh cast. Let's go, Vedius. Come on, bring it out. The battle of the tanks.
Oh, Gilius, he's coming up towards the top side. Medic, you might have to do your job as they're looking for a gank in the top lane.
Gilius trying to land the seismic shove. Chachi dodges it to the side. Cabochard there as well, landing those axes to the back of Chachi. Gets the shield, but Cabo can't tank any longer. Gilius comes in. First blood. Jack Troll in the mid lane as well. Ignite goes down onto Nuke Duck. Can't quite connect. Finally, Jizuke, he's going to fall as well. 1 for 1. It's the execute, though. Jizuke doesn't even give gold across to Schalke.
And Vitality are the ones to make the first move. They find a successful kill up top and in mid. They lose very little as a result. And while Jizuke increases his number of solo kills, he also increases the number of... Oh, no, because he had a teammate there.
So it wasn't a solo kill. Is it
an
ISO death? So it wasn't a solo kill, so Jack Troll helped. It's not an ISO death either.
It's neither of those.
Jack Troll was there, and he got executed.
Debated me. I got debated hard. Let's look back through the replay of what happened up towards the top lane. Gilius, they had controlled throughout the river towards the top side of the map. Chachi did have his flash available, wanted to hold it for as long as possible. If he'd used it a little bit earlier, perhaps he could have gotten out of that situation, but instead, he didn't quite show that respect. Jizuke, he did have his flash available because he used the flash that he picked up from Nukeduck, but he realized the tower aggro had already locked on. He wasn't getting out of that situation, but I'm sure he calculated that the execute was going to come through, and so all Nukeduck would have gone is a bit of experience.
Okay, so the first movers advantage goes to Vitality here. They pick up 2 kills, they're about 1,200 gold ahead. How does Schalke react to this? Do they still need to make proactive plays, or do they want to hold back?
No, no, no. Because the thing is with Vitality is their eyes are now set on continuing to punish both mid and top. Chachi doesn't have a flash anymore, Gilius has loads of damage, and Jizuke is getting to a point where he can start wave clearing his
double charm knockoff. That is a very dead Ezreal. Back to base with you. That's exactly what you can do with the Hemoplague Quickness combination.
And there's the Predator proc as well for upsets. We talked about level 6, you have all in potential, but I very much underestimated the amount of damage that the Vladimir and the Rakan could throw out. They just crush Attila and wipe him off the map. This will now enable Schalke to work their way towards the Dragon, and perhaps this is their answer back meta. You know, I talked about being able to counteract in the middle lane some of the plays that Vitality will be looking to make, but they can just keep investing resources towards the bot lane, get this duo roaming around, and see if they can get involved more in Schalke getting back into the game.
Gilius put himself on the wrong side of the wall there, and Schalke resetting the Infernal Drake as well. They'll get it in the end. Vedius, do you want a quick medic stat? Or it's technically
Hit me with some stats.
Guess how much damage to Champions Amazing has done this game?
I'm going to say 0.
Exactly.
Ah. There we are. What about Gilius? Because he's looking to do more damage top.
He's probably done quite a lot thus far. There's the seismic shove. Chachi able to dodge around it though. Cabochard's still there. Jackdaw waiting around the corner. Comes around the corner of the Forge Guard, trying to bring the horn down, but he cannot get the connection. Amazing finally does some damage. The sleep onto Nukeduck though stops him in his tracks, and Jizuke is trying to get away from this one. Press the attack, electrocute as well, but Jizuke dodging, flashes away. Amazing with the flash chase, but amazing! Cannot get away from Jizuke! The Italian stallion is back in action.
What a phenomenal outplay from Jizuke. That was fantastic. In a 2 versus 1, he turns it around, gets the kill down onto Amazing, while the rest of Vitality secure a kill up towards top lane. Vitality continuing with their proactivity, 4 kills to 1, 3,000 gold lead. They're the ones dictating the pace of the game.
It's exactly the start Vitality wanted as well. Didn't see that Jizuke went Hex Splash as well. We're going to have another look at that big play. This is brought to you by Acer Predator.
So let's have a look back at this outplay in the mid. Vander goes up top initially to try and help, and then realizes he can't do anything, so he wants to come mid for the play. The good sleep onto Yasuo buys enough time for Jizuke to escape. Note that he still has his flash, hasn't used it yet. He's waiting for the tornado to come through, and then to just get out of range of the stun, he uses his ultimate to create a gap between him and Amazing, and then he has just enough damage on the E to secure the kill. Jizuke, now he gets himself a solo kill. Thank you very much, stats. Jizuke panning his stat line out.
And after a poor first couple of weeks, Jizuke is really stepping into his role once again. This is the mid laner we saw at the start of last split. It's the rookie of the spring split as well, finally coming to the fore. And Schalke, looking very much like the team they were last split as well. A disappointment when we put our hopes into them.
Well, they have not been able to find the early game success. Jackdaw has found so many good roams, has been involved in a lot more. I say a lot more. He's shown up to a lot more, and then the kills normally happen before he can really do anything. But he has been the one to make that first move, and Vander has just been short behind. Amazing hasn't quite found that early game success, and while Upset has been able to find a bit of a lead down bot, the rest of Schalke are struggling.
They are, however, Upset with the Predator, getting towards that first item. It's a powerful point for a Vladimir, and he can turn the tide of a team fight. Nukeduck trying to turn the tide of this fight up towards the top side. Cabochard gets caught in the last breath. He's Amazing as well. The knock-up, the silence, but a great stopwatch by Cabochard. Teleport coming in as well, and Gilius just being left to do all the damage he wants from the side. Teleport comes in from Upset. There's the Hemoplague. Only catches onto Gilius, and now Attila and Jizuke will force Schalke away.
So a lot of flashes used there from the side of Vitality as they were the ones trying to steal away the red buff, and Schalke had a pretty good collapse. Unfortunately, due to the extra teleport from Attila and the roam up from Jizuke, the numbers advantage in favor of Vitality meant that they were the ones who were able to turn the fight. But neither team wanted to commit. Instead, Vitality, they just take down the Rift Herald, and Jizuke is going to keep pushing onto this mid-tier 1.
And it just increases the tempo here for Vitality. They're making the game go faster by taking these towers, by taking the Rift Herald as well. They basically get themselves a free tower later on, assuming they use it correctly. And they're pulling Schalke all over the map. 3,500 gold lead coming up to the 15-minute mark, 14 minutes 10, in a very powerful position.
Now recognize that Schalke still do have an aspect of scaling on their side. We talked about this in the draft where upset around 2 items is when the Vladimir kind of turns on, same for the Yasuo, and that is a potential comeback opportunity. It's just about how much can they afford to sacrifice until they get to that point, because Vitality is a team that is, I like to describe them as impatient. They don't like to wait around when they're waiting for their coffee. They want it now. They want it as fast as humanly possible. And it gets to a point where they no longer want to wait. They're just going to make it themselves. And so that's the thing that Schalke has to be very, very careful of, because Vitality are thirsty. They need that caffeine, and they're ready to jump into the kitchen and start making it.
Yes?
Just transition, keep going.
Okay, sorry, yeah, yeah, so the coffee in
no,
this
don't make
example
coffee references. Get out, back away, abort.
Okay, so Vitality maybe a little bit impatient, but Gilius has been pretty good at making impatient plays towards Vizicachi. 0-2 on that Ornn at the moment, has been pretty camped by the Talia. Rift Herald's going to get used bot here as well. Haven't seen if that's how it's taking too much damage yet, but it will take at least a chunk with Herald on its way. It's going to go. That should be a one-shot by
Ornn already
the Rift
backed
Herald.
away. You can see he's starting to group up with his team in mid. They want to see if they can trade this tower. Maybe a mid one, but if they do, then that Rift Herald is going to start hitting, or making its way rather, to the tier 2 in the bot lane. Amazing has now arrived. I don't think they can kill the Mundo. One of the big annoying things about this champion is if you don't shut him down early, he kind of becomes unstoppable in team fights. You can kind of ignore him for a lot of the part, but we'll see how that pans out as Schalke looking for a fight.
That face checks straight into Nukedug, but Nukedug just has nowhere to go, continually knocked up. The stun lands onto Upset as well, pops the Sanguine Pool, gets across the wall. There's the Hema Plague, only hits onto Cabochard, and now Schalke are running for the wins. Chachi off towards the side, looking for the Call of the Portugal's not going to do anything. Amazing, just dodges the True Shot Barrage. Vander pops the quickness and runs for high heaven. He's done. And Vitality just tank up this tower. Chachi can't do much here at all. Upset goes down to Jizuke, and so does Chachi. And with it, Schalke's hopes of any chance in this game.
And this was the play we were talking about, Vitality. It was actually Schalke that was setting things up in the river. They were the ones grouping up in that bush and wanted to try and punish Vitality as they looked to set up vision around this Drake. But it's Jaxroll that face checks. He's more than happy to go for this fight. You have Cabo and Gilius coming up through the river as well. And Schalke just weren't in a position to really fight for this. You can see Ornn TPing at the end of the fight. And Chachi can't really do anything. All he does in this fight is show up and die as he watches the rest of Schalke lose their lives. I believe even on the backline, Jizuke was able to get a kill onto Upset as well. Oh, look at all the flashes that he picks up. He just rips through him with the Ignite too. Schalke, they could do nothing against the aggressiveness of Vitality.
I love the Vitality composition though, because as soon as Schalke are on the back foot, Cabochard steps up, says, okay, I'm going to run at you, and then you've got so much poke damage from the rest of it. You've got Talia, you've got the Zoe, you've got the Ezreal just spamming out Qs and able to catch up with you really effectively. Because of that, they now have a 6,000, almost, just 7,000 gold lead. An Ocean Drake in their back pocket in 2.5 minutes before that Baron spawns as well.
So now we're in a situation where for Schalke, things are looking bleak. They want to find themselves another win. They're currently 2 and 3 in the standings, and they don't want to fall behind like they did last split. When you look at the challenge in front of them, that is a 4-1-1 Zoe, 3-0-2 Gilius. Rylai's has been completed. Luden's Echo has been completed too. If you want to start a fight, I mean, I just don't think you have the damage right now. You just have to slow the pace of the game. You need to get to the mid and late game point where you have 2 to 3 items and your team fighting is just that bit stronger. Because right now, Vitality have a 7,000 gold lead and they're more than happy to take any fight that you would throw at them.
You wonder if Schalke are just waiting for the Baron, maybe for a misplay by Vitality around it. But Vitality gaining proper vision control, stepping forward, clearing out this topside jungle, and stopping Schalke from having any awareness of basically anywhere on the map. They've got one pink ward towards the mid-side river. That's not really going to do too much for them at all.
Going for a bit of a play onto Chachi, recognize that they don't have the minion wave, plus the rest of Schalke are hanging around. This means that They won't go for anything too greedy. They'll just set their eyes on getting a bit of damage down. They have no one in the mid lane, but ooh, Nuke Duck.
Oh, the Drowsy still hits.
He's gonna die.
Oh, cleanse.
Okay,
he's not
good.
gonna die.
Yeah. I miscalled.
Oh, he's gonna. It looks like. Actually, I'm not even gonna hypothesize what's going on there. Nuke Duck stopped moving for a second.
Yeah, we'll get some information.
Jump forward.
As soon as we know it. I'm not entirely sure who threw the pause out, but as the moment we have info, yeah, things were looking a little scary there for the Yasuo. Jizuke, he had just used his ulti. He was ready. He had the Q flying in the air. It was going towards the opposite. It doesn't actually look like... we'll find out.
We'll find out, yeah. There's no point us hypothesizing before we find things out, Vedius. Now, I want to come back to this coffee metaphor that you brought up.
Okay.
You were saying, you know, Schalke, Vitality they really want their coffee. And sometimes they'll just make their coffee themselves.
I mean, okay, the point is not the coffee. The point is...
I'm fixated on the coffee.
Okay.
What type of coffee do they like?
I don't know. I didn't even know there were other types of coffee. Don't you just have coffee? What? What's wrong?
So... Okay, we're not even going to get into it. So what is the coffee in this sort of regard, though? What is it that Vitality will be looking to try and brew up next in this game?
Well, I mean, the point is that when you go and order, I normally order tea, right? That's probably an easy way.
Do you know there's different types of tea?
No, I just have British tea.
Earl Grey, chamomile, peppermint.
I mean, great.
Lady Grey.
There are two kinds of tea I have. The one for my throat so that it doesn't die.
Okay.
It has like honey
throat
in
tea,
it. Yeah. And then I have ordinary British tea.
You realize,
like,
so there's no such thing as ordinary British. Earl Grey is probably what you're having. There's English breakfast. There's Yorkshire tea. There's Barry's if you're from Ireland.
God, wow, tea is far more complicated. And
coffee's even more complicated.
Right, I did not mean to open up this bag of worms.
Bag of tea.
Point
got
is,
a tea bag.
The point is that when you go and order something,
yes.
you have to sit and wait.
Okay.
Sometimes the wait can be lengthy, and Vitality don't like to wait.
Okay.
They instead want their tea urgently.
Okay.
They said, I have a meeting to attend. Please give me my tea now. But obviously the barista says, no, we have to make your tea. You have to wait. And Vitality's like, screw that. I will make the tea. And so they jump behind the counter. They then make the tea themselves, and then they walk off. And that's the point. They don't sit and wait for you to do what you want. They just take the initiative. They take the game into their own hands, and they just be proactive.
Okay.
And to a degree, they are impatient. And that's what I mean, because if you're a Brit and you jump over the thing, it's just, you can't do that, right? So we'll see. You're making it...
I have producers talking in my ear, so I was making a signal for you to continue talking so I could hear the producers.
That signal, in my eyes, was just like,
talking.
I need you to hand over to me. Okay.
Hand over is pull towards me.
Oh.
This is keep going. We're going to get back into game. I'll find out what the pause was for in a second. Nuke Duck is going to survive.
All right, so now Vitality is setting up a siege towards the top side of the map. They don't actually have a push in mid, which ideally you'd want Jizuke to set up, but instead they're putting more focus on having a 5-man group up towards this top tier 2, and then they will be able to secure it for free. So with the good vision that they have, now Medic is gesturing that it is now his turn to talk. So Medic, update us on the pause.
Okay, so I talked to the producers, and Nuke Duck believed there was an in-game bug, which is why he paused the game. Our League Ops officials have decided there was no bug, and so we're safe to resume.
Okay, we're good to go. Thank you very much, League officials. We will now continue with Vitality's dominance, I think it's fair to say. They're now at about an 8,000 to 9,000 gold lead. They have the Baron up and available. A lot of deep vision already exists for Vitality. Interestingly, they've actually sent 2 members down bot. Both Attila and Cabochard are hanging around that lane. Maybe they're looking to punish Chachi if he overextends just a little bit, but they do have the teleport as well to join any shenanigans that could kick off towards the top side of the map.
And just need to get a total control of vision around here before they do anything at that Baron. There's a control ward sitting in the back of the pit that Schalke have managed to sneak in there. I'm sure Vitality will want to clear that quickly. A slight micro-interaction that some people may not know. The reason Jizuke has the Hex Flash is you get your passive off it. So if you use the Hex Flash, you get the more, on the W, you get the more sparkles and you get empowered auto-attacks. So that is the reason he's gone Hex Flash. If you want to do it in your solo queue games, you can try that one out.
he also has Electrocute. Some Zoes like to run Airy because you throw a lot of poke out, so the Airy kind of synergizes with that extra bit of damage, and some prefer being the sorcery tree due to the other like secondary masteries that you can get. But I'm personally a big advocate of the Electrocute just because of the amount of burst that you can get, and that one-shot potential is just that much great.
So Bennis, with the pause, I feel we need to just restate exactly where Vitality are in this game. We're about 9,000 gold ahead. We've got 2 items finished on Jizuke, the Ludens and the Morello Nomicon. Gilius sitting on that Rylai's. You've got Trinity Force, Miura Mana on Attila. Basically, they're at the 2-item spike they want to be at.
Yes, and they've reached that point much faster than Schalke have. Amazing, you'll see, has started to build his Trinity Force second. It's going to take him a long time before he gets to that point. Let's see if Schalke can find a pick here. Oh, they can.
Yeah, they can. Oh, stopwatch! Oh, it still dies!
The Ignite secures the kill, so very close. A lot of summoner spells were used, but Schalke, they find another kill onto Upset, so they'll be pretty happy with that.
It's a really good way for them to slow down the game as well.
Yeah.
If they can find picks, Vitality won't be confident starting a Baron as 4 players.
That's for sure. But they still have so much vision in that area. Vitality really do just maintain control, and it's so difficult for Nukeduck to get control over the mid lane when Jizuke is always hanging around. Let's have a look back. So Attila walks over rewards, doesn't know that there are 3 people sitting in that brush. He's just trying to coop up with the rest of his team, and the double flash Ignite. He does his best. He does survive the Hemoplague, but then Ignite, the last tick, is what takes his life down. And just a bit of frustration on his face. Very little he could have done about it, to be totally honest with you.
It's just a different path. It's the only way he can be safer there if he goes back into his own jungle instead of going round. But at the moment, Vitality's still in a very good spot. So Cloud Drake coming up next. They've already got an Ocean in their back pocket, and 23 minutes in, they will be looking to keep that tempo up. They can see the pot boiling across the counter. They can see their coffee getting ready to be made. Maybe they'll be impatient. Maybe they'll jump across and burn themselves.
Perhaps. For now, they'll just take the easy Cloud Drake. They have bot wave pushed up. They're going to push in through mid first. They need to get a bit more control over that top wave, and then they'll use this pressure to invade in the enemy jungle and start getting that deep vision down. With that control, they can then look for picks and try and force Schalke into a situation that they quite frankly don't want to be.
Schalke will have to find out a way to react to that, because at the moment, they really have nothing to do at all. Still no flash on Vander or Upset. Vander does have his ultimate backup, and Predator is always available for Upset if he wants to try and run into the midst of the fray. But Schalke are spread out across the top and mid at the moment.
So just very quickly, I want to touch on the fact that you'll note on the minimap that Schalke do actually still have vision in the river. And one strategy that many teams will implement is they focus on getting deep vision, and then they just control that deep vision for around 3 minutes because they know that the vision in the river is eventually going to run out, and that's why they look for these fights.
There's Fat Chachi. He's going to dodge away from the seismic shove. Upset got on towards the back line. There's the call of the Forge God as well. This might be the fight that Schalke need. The quickness comes out. Look at Upset. He's the one going to be doing the damage in this fight. Gets on towards the back line. That's Attila dead, but Chachi goes down as well. 2 for 1 in favor of Vitality at the moment, and Jack Troll is not done. Nukeduck trying to dodge around Cabochon, but you can't do anything against the Mundo. Vitality have managed to clean up this fight. Upset going to get chased down by the Mundo, and Vitality come out on top.
1-4 in favor of Vitality. They have the Baron up, ready and available, and it all ties back to what we were just talking about. They weren't interested in maintaining river control because they just wanted to control the enemy jungle. And the moment Schalke came in to try and get some vision back, Vitality struck, and they struck hard. That's a Baron, that's a couple kills. Vitality extend their gold lead even further. So you can see here in the replay, Vander just doing what he can, trying to get a bit of vision out of the way, and then Chachi, he ends up getting isolated. A lot of poke, a lot of pick potential from this Vitality squad. Jizuke almost gets shut down, but he jumps over the wall with all the flashes that he has available to him, and he can just use his long range to help provide damage and assistance to the rest of his team. Attila did kind of get crushed, which is unfortunate for him, but when you have this many extra damage dealers on the side of Vitality, they don't really mind losing their AD carry, as they were still able to win out on the fight.
Yeah, because even your tank is a high damage dealer at the end of the fight as well. You can't really do much against him. You see both Upset and Nukeduck just got chased down by the Mundo. Jizuke is like, I'm sorry, Attila. Someone must have been sacrificed for the good of the Huns.
Yes.
And it was Attila who fell.
It was. And Cabochon and Jizuke fortunately making up for that. They now have the Baron buff. They now have pressure in mid. They're grouping up in the bottom lane with the Baron buff. And the amount of siege and poke they have with their composition is definitely something that Schalke, I feel, will struggle to deal with. Now we see the inhib push coming in from Vitality.
All 5 members down towards this bottom side. Amazing waiting in the flank. There's a call of the Forge God. Watch Vander's engage. It's all on Jizuke. Hexacultivator comes down as well, and already the Zoe is dead. Vander jumps forward. There's a Hemo Plague as well. Amazing has to flash away because Cabochard and Jackdaw can just rain hell upon them. Gilius survives off towards the back of the fight. An upset goes down. Schalke run for the hills, and Vitality will finish the in-hit push.
The fight starts pretty promising for Schalke as they found a good pick onto Jizuke, but they still couldn't quite follow that up with enough damage to turn the fight in their favor. Vitality with Attila this time now surviving, and with a 4-0-5 Talia in Gilius' hands, had more than enough to still win out on that fight and secure themselves an inhibitor and perhaps another tower.
Get the tower in the mid lane. The gold lead has accelerated as well. About 15,000 gold ahead now from 24 minutes where it was about 10 to an extra 5k lead at the 27-minute mark. Vitality came back. They only got 1 inhibitor off that push, which isn't the optimal situation, but it's still broken the base of Schalke.
Yeah, exactly that. And here you can see with Jizuke not having flash, they're able to lock him down pretty quickly. But then the return damage that they take just from Gilius alone just shreds through the front line that is desperately trying to deal the damage from the side of Schalke. And unfortunately, it ends up costing them the fight. The upset coming in pretty significantly on the Vladimir, but neither mid lane really having the impact that they would have liked.
I think we've just worked out Nuke Duck is about 70 times better than Jizuke.
Yeah, that's what the math does imply. And
we can't say that because 70 times 0 is still 0.
Oh, so stats are going to be angry at you.
We're going to get back to some tweets about that one, Vedius. Now Vitality still got that Baron buff on Cabochard, but push for that mid lane inhibitor. Nuke Duck's going to try and stop them, has the GA now up on him. Watch Upset as well, because here comes the call of the Forge God. Upset runs in with the Predator. Vander gets the charm. The back line has been caught out. It's Cabochard first, but Vander has to jump away. And now Chachi's caught in the midst of all of Vitality. Tower goes down, and Vitality set their eyes on towards that inhibitor.
They want to keep the pressure on. Vitality didn't really lose any HP in that engage. Upset didn't use his ulti. Nuke Duck used his ulti onto Cabo. And Schalke, they tried to just slow Vitality down, whittle away this Baron buff, but they weren't fast enough. And now with 2 inhibs down, Vitality can just group up for the final and third up in the top lane.
And a big thing that we talked about for Schalke and Pick and Ban was their scaling, their ability to get to these 2-3 items and actually have some damage. Well, at the moment, Amazing will just about survive there, but because Nuke Ducks decided to go for GA instead of the Infinity Edge we tend to see on Yasuo, they're just delaying those damage spikes. It's just getting longer and longer before they can do anything.
I feel like the deficit they're in at this point, they need to get to like 5-6 items where gold is somewhat irrelevant, and they don't have the stall tools in order to get to that point. And that's one of the big dangers of this meta. If you do fall behind in the early game, comebacks are very challenging, and only few teams have been able to do it. So far, Vitality very good at finding those early game leads, on track to getting themselves a 2-0 week to make up for their 0-2 last week. As they siege onto this final tower, Schalke are not done yet.
Chachi calls the cavalry, only hits onto Gilius in that back line. Nuke Duck in the front, looking for that GA pop. Jackdaw there as well in the midst of it all. Vander jumps back, has the quickness, has the flash. Upset goes in, hits the Hemo Plague, but really only onto Jizuke once again, and Vitality reset, wait for the next wave, and can push forward towards the inhibitor. There are supers on the base of Schalke.
Exactly that, Medic. Lots of damage comes down onto Amazing. Bot and mid are pushing in favor of Vitality. They just have to be patient. Now there are only Nexus towers standing in their way in the final engage from Schalke.
And against the engage, there's the last breath in as well, but Attila's safe, and you can just see that Vitality are way too far ahead. Cabochard's that front line. Nuke Duck tries to jump away, but he falls as well. Vitality are just brushing Schalke aside at the moment. Amazing running for his life. Upset, full HP, has to run back to base. There's nothing he can do. Jizuke lands the double from across the Nexus, and with that, Vitality will take down the Nexus. Jizuke sacrifices himself and actually may have delayed this game a little bit. Still, Attila is alive and can focus down that Nexus. Eventually, it will fall. Schalke, no hope of holding out. Vitality set their sights on the top of the table as they take down Schalke.
A bit of frustration on the face of Attila, but still can be happy overall, finding themselves another win. Vitality, they went 0-2 last week, and they've bounced back to a 2-0 week. Seems like that they have returned to form just a little bit. And they are keeping the gap closed between themselves and the top teams. 4-2 they now sit. Only 2 wins behind both G2, or potentially G2 and Misfits rather. Whereas Schalke fall even further down in the standings. Bit of a rough start to the split. I wonder if they will be able to bounce back. Last split they were not able to do so. But there's still a lot left for the split. They will have a week to reset as Rift Rivals kicks off next week. But yeah, this once again just it's very much about the early game. We didn't see as much effectiveness from the jungle support roams from the side of Schalke that we did see from Vitality.
It was 15 to 20 minutes before Amazing did damage to an enemy champion. Like, he tried to be proactive, he tried to set himself up for plays, but it was always Vitality coming out on top. And it's great to see them bounce back from a 0-2 week last week, because in the middle of last split, they weren't able to bounce back. It took them a long time to refine their form. Feels like as a team, they're just a little bit more experienced now. Maybe a little bit more expectation on their shoulders as well.
Wonderful support from the squad of Vitality. They're going to be pretty happy with how the week went by. Things are starting to get a little bit competitive towards the top side of the EU LCS. Last split, we saw kind of teams taking games off of everyone. This time around, it feels like they do have a clear top half and bottom half in the EU LCS. We'll see how long that continues, as Yamato has a nice smile on his face after today's win.
A nice shirt on his body as well. It's another colourful one for him. In your player of the game vote, Kabushard, Jizuke and Gilius are your options. Be sure to give us your favourite at LOL Esports on Twitter. I'm not sure who I'd vote for out of those three.
It's a tough one. Yeah. It's a tough one. I think Jizuke had a pretty good game. I think you can give a lot of credit over to Gilius as well. But overall, the entire Vitality squad looking pretty good.
So you're saying Kabushard. For a closer look at Vitality's win, let's head over to the analyst desk.
Thank you very much, guys. Wonderful for Vitality after that 0-2 week last week. They turn it around completely and finish this week off 2-0. That'll be fantastic for them. And they just had a bit of a snowball going, we have to be honest. They didn't look out of control in the entire game. Schalke did not look that they had any openings, and that started very early on in the game, and with the way Amazing got bullied out of his jungle.
Exactly, because right at the start of the game is when Amazing, he walks straight over that blue ward in the tri-brush, and that means that Gilius runs straight over from his red buff and is going to be able to bully Amazing out of the jungle here and end up getting the flash, which made it so difficult for Amazing to ever find an opening here in the early game.
Yeah, this seems like a very micro point, but how does that actually start giving Vitality the advantage that they need?
Well, it means that all of a sudden Gilius gets both Scuttle Crabs, so he has an experience advantage. Amazing doesn't have his flash, which means that ganks on the Camille are going to be much more difficult, and all around just limits the tools he has to make plays in the early game.
And I think it's also important in the context of the fact that what you said before the game, that we need Amazing to do something, and here he's trying to be proactive, but it gets shut down immediately, which then gives Vitality the opportunity to make some moves on the map. This is where we look at a couple of replays of the early game where they get a kill top, they get a kill mid, and this is where the snowball starts going for them.
Yeah, I mean, this kind of sequences eventually. If you're backstage, you're just like, well, yikes, I guess my player's died again. It's, I mean, it's really sad. What's really funny about her is, like, Jizuke gets this kill and dies to tower, but doesn't actually give up any gold. It's like, for me, that's such a Jizuke moment to just, like, go for this huge YOLO play and not get punished at all because he just dies to tower.
That is him, exactly, and he has been having some solo deaths where no one was around and he just died for no reason. So this is perfect for him because he gets to die, but he's not giving up any gold to the enemy. So great on him. You say you just sit backstage and you see your players dying, and that's a bit frustrating, but Moose, you probably often sit backstage and see things that you don't like. But in-game, Schalke should be able to react to that a bit better. Do you think they dropped the ball in their reaction to these plays?
I think the fact that Talia was able to get double Scuttle against Camille already made the game quite hard because they could play all three lanes pretty safely, and Talia now gets to farm her jungle and kind of be aware of where Camille is, so she can never get punished. And the whole point of the matchup, Camille versus Talia, is to punish the Talia with priorities from lanes. So their early game plan failed like from level 2 onwards, and then Gilius just did a really good job using that priority and using that lead to snowball top lane.
Yeah, for me, I was particularly disappointed with VIT. I mean, I personally think the Orange should get priority level 1. And I think he should be pushing his lane. But when we saw they were looking for this crab, like VIT was underneath his tower by the time that Amazing went back to the top lane. So for me, it's like VIT not managing his wave correctly. And we saw this before in the Rocket game. You know, like Camille went for Amazing. Actually took a double crab path before. I think this was in week 1, and they were in exactly the same matchup. And again, like VIT not pushing out his wave and helping Amazing. So it's either poor jungle planning pathing and bad communication, or VIT just like isn't helping out his friend. Which probably not that. Like, but
we don't know. We don't know, but we can speculate. And in any case, Vitality was off to a great start, and the Italian stallion Jizuke himself, he's back, Ender.
He's
Can
back,
we
baby.
say that now definitively?
Oh my god, yes. I mean, this outplay here onto Amazing was absolutely disgusting. It looks like he should die here 100% of the time, but he still has the flash up, gets away from it, and oh man, that is pretty.
And that is adding insult to injury for Amazing, who's already on the back foot, and then you die like this. That sucks. Well, Hussein, when you look at Vitality, Jizuke was really the guy that was taking all the attention for the team back in spring where they were on their winning streak. And you were talking about how, as a team, it is incredibly frustrating to play against them because they're so erratic in what they do.
The thing with Vitality, and it's like teams like Vitality, is you go into a game, again, like when 2 top teams play, they tend to know what the other team's going to do. They tend to understand priorities, and then they plan from there. And against Vitality, it's like we kind of have an idea of how they play, but then they can always do something unexpected, like something you just can't plan for. And so when you're discussing weaknesses within the game, it's so hard to, or so easy rather, to overlook something that Vitality might do. That's like the really scary part.
Right, and I remember even last split, Fnatic saying very similar things about Vitality and how they didn't want to play against them in the playoffs, even though they were by far the most dominant team in the spring split. So it goes a long way to show that having that unpredictability is a very powerful tool.
However, on the other side of that coin is the fact that Vitality did definitely show a halt in their development in spring, and we didn't see them just blow over teams as easily as the split went on. Do you think they'll have to take active steps to just not be only that erratic, active early game team with sometimes wacky picks? What is the next step in their evolution?
I think they're trying to. Like, this game was quite controlled, actually. It wasn't a true Vitality game of Spring Split, because in Spring Split, they were unpredictable, but then teams kind of figured out that they needed to go level 2, level 3 mid. They needed to get Jizuke ahead. They needed him to play as aggressively as possible. And once people figured that out, it was easier to play against Vitality. And it might just be, like, I think this split, they are trying to play standard.
We'll keep an eye on that. Finally, about Schalke, George, that's, well, another loss for them here. It's not dramatic at all. They have picked up a couple of wins, but if I look at their schedule, they've lost against Misfits, Fnatic, G2, and Vitality. Now, on paper, that doesn't seem so bad, but is it time that we kind of frame Schalke differently, not as this team that should be vying for the top of the table, but we should be looking at Schalke as similar to Roccat and the Unicorns of Love as a developing team that shouldn't be held to that high of a standard yet?
Sure. So for me, obviously, if we're going to establish Vitality, G2, Misfits, and Fnatic as like the top 4 teams, then obviously there's 2 spots left, and then it's really, for me, it's between like Roccat, Schalke, and I think like Unicorns of Love is kind of in there too, as like the 3 teams that are going to be vying for that. Maybe not Splice. We'll see today what they're going to do, but again, like their record is pretty poor right now, so the math doesn't really work out as well. But yeah, for me, Schalke, I kind of like what they're doing. You can see like there's bits of inspiration there for me, but obviously they are still a new roster. Like they did make that roster change, so I'm not too down on them yet. But again, like it's starting to look a bit worrying. But again, as you said, they did lose to the top team, so let's start looking at when are they going to play like these teams that are kind of around their level. Also vying for that 5th and 6th playoff spot.
That's where they need to get the victories. For now, though, Schalke 0-2 week, but for Vitality 2-0, they are back on the board, and Pyra is standing by with their jungler.
Thank you very much, Shox. As you said, I'm joined by Gilius, and you had a few things to say about your opposite number, Amazing, before the start of the day. How good does it feel to not just smash him, but his whole team?
Definitely feels good. I mean, Amazing has been talking really big when he was away from the LCS, so I wanted to prove a point today. Like that I'm the best German jungler by far.
Ooh, dropping the by far. I haven't heard that one in a while. All right, so you guys got some swagger back. You got some confidence. You came into this week having a 0-2 on the previous. What did you do to adjust your mentality or your preparation coming into this week?
I think the reason why we lost last week was bad meta read and not adapting well to a new situation. Where this week we really focused on a lot of details so we don't get caught off guard in the draft or something. I think against Roccat we had the win basically in the pocket, but it was really close. We had 3 Barons. Against Fnatic, I think we were just outclassed last week, and I think we fixed most of our mistakes and we're looking pretty good again.
Well, you can certainly say that after the 2-0. Now you guys are going to have a little bit of a break. Rift Rivals is coming up. In the meantime, how are you going to spend that downtime? What are you going to work on?
Oh man, that's gonna be a boring break. Like, I'm always really jealous when there's international tournaments and I can't compete. We are probably just gonna take a little break, play a lot of solo queue, learn some new champs, and then, yeah, keep going.
Well, you certainly have a lot of champions already to work with. So last question then I got for you. Gilius, is there any team in the LCS right now that actually worries you? I know you're normally one of the big confident guys. Who are you watching with a wary eye?
I think Misfits and G2 are looking decent right now. But I'm not really worried about either one of these teams. I mean, they're 6-0 right now, but they haven't faced us yet, so...
That's a good point.
Yeah, I think we will beat them.
All right, well, looking forward to that one. I believe you have Misfits coming up the week after Rift Rivals. Well, Gilius, congratulations on closing out the 2-0 week. Thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to a quick break. Don't go anywhere because Giants and Fnatic are coming up next. We'll see you in 3.5.
Landing those axes to the back of Chachi, gets the shield, but Cabo can't tank any longer. Gilius comes in, first blood, Jack Troll in the mid lane as well. Ignite goes down onto Nuke, can't quite connect. Finally, Chizuke, he's gonna fall as well, but get the connection. Amazing, finally does some damage. The sleep onto Nuke though, stops doing his tracks, and Chizuke is trying to get away from this one. Press the attack, electrocute as well, but Chizuke dodging, flashes away, amazing with the flash chase, but amazing! Cannot get away from Chizuke! The Italian stallion is back in action.
Nice job, Chizuke.
Luke is back.
I'm out. I'm dead.
What? Let's see if Schalke can find a pick here. Oh, they can.
Yeah, they can. Oh, stopwatch! Oh, it still dies!
Oh.
This might be the fight that Schalke need. The quickest comes out. Look at Upset. He's the one going to be doing damage in this fight. Gets on towards the backline. That's Attila dead, but Chachi goes down as well. 2 for 1 in favor of Vitality. Still, Attila is alive and can focus down that Nexus. Eventually, it will fall. Schalke, no hope of holding out. Vitality set their sights on the top of the table as they take down Schalke.